Welcome to the third week of the ADHD GO webinar series. This week we'll be talking about ADHD treatments for the body, physiological treatments which are going to help you manage your symptoms unconsciously by boosting your the sort of floor of your executive functioning and your ability to maintain and self-regulate your focus. So these tactics will really help you with modulating your brain chemistry, which is the first thing that we're really talking about. Changing your body can really change the severity of a lot of your symptoms because the brain is responsible for sending and receiving these chemical signals, which make it more or less likely that we will end up focused, engaged, able to switch tasks and communicate productively, all those things that bring us closer to our goals. So if we can learn to self-regulate some of those chemical signals and pay attention to those chemical signals, then we will have drastically improved our chances at a positive treatment outcome. Okay, so the first way that you can really change your brain chemistry is through medication. Now, I am not here to tell you to get on any kind of medication. I'm not here to prescribe you anything or talk about all the benefits, but here are some facts to consider. First of all, problems that could impede your physiological treatments are insufficient sleep, irregular nutrition, inconsistent exercise, overindulgence in strictly pleasurable distractions, and pursuing risky or dangerous behaviors. Physiological treatments are effective, simple to understand, and easy to implement. So let's talk about the first physiological treatment, which is going to make the biggest changes quickly. Medication. Now, I'm not here to tell you to get on meds. This is obviously not a prescription or an endorsement, but I started out anti-meds because I was convinced that it was too expensive, or I would get addicted, or people would think that I was a drug user. The truth is, these are all insecurities that I had to deal with that were excuses not to get the help that I needed and not to put any extra effort in, any changes to my day. That was really the discomfort that was holding me back, was a kind of an insecurity and a comfort with my familiar routine. Getting to some of those criticisms, the first one, that meds are too expensive. The reality is everything's expensive and takes time and has side effects. And that's true not only of your range of different medications that could be prescribed to you for your condition, but also in the range of treatments you have available to you more generally. So decide what's going to be worth it for you. And medication can have the biggest effect the most quickly out of pretty much all your physiological treatments. Remember that different meds are good for different symptoms in different people. So it's important to, even after you find a medication, continue to explore what might work with your medical professional who's helping you with this, because there's a lot of options out there, and you will probably not get it exactly right the first time. So it's important to have a doctor who's willing to work through that with you, as almost all of them are in my experience. The next thing that really helped me swallow the pill, pun intended, of getting on medication was understanding that medication is not necessarily a forever thing. It's not like now I'm medicated and therefore I must buy these pills every month for the rest of my life and take them every morning and evening. It's more like I'm taking these in order to give myself the leverage against the challenges that I'm dealing with. And when I become strong enough to overcome those challenges without medication, then that option is it's there for me. Because the pills aren't going to be the solution. Pills don't teach skills. So they by themselves are just another form of collecting a tool and getting a false sense of accomplishment. You need to use the changes that happen in your brain to start to change your behavior in a conscious way. And that's what medication kind of gives you a greater opportunity to do. So if you have any questions about medication, obviously I'm not going to talk about medications in specific. Most of the common ones that I'm familiar with are stimulants. And just remember that you are not a drug addict for taking this medication, which people say, oh, it's chemically exactly the same, identical to this street drug or that street drug. That's a completely different environment with completely different circumstances, and you are an atypical person who deals with these chemicals in your brain differently than the neurotypical population. So don't allow any of that shame to creep into your thought process. This is medicine, and no matter what it is you land on that's going to help treat your condition, that's what's right for you, and that's a good thing. But it's not the only way to change your brain chemistry, obviously. Similar to medication, but something that we can do in the comfort of our own home without a medical professional, is self-medication, also known as fun. This is the natural way to alter your brain chemistry, and you could get this in any number of ways. It's unique to pretty much everybody. But just remember that no matter what you choose to do that's going to give you a release of those feel-good chemicals on a consistent basis, we atypicals are more prone to addiction. So whatever it's going to be, make sure that you keep it in moderation. Don't put yourself or others in danger, and don't overdo it with any kind of self-medication. And as we talked about in the scheduling, the calendar portion of Essential Tools in week 2, this is something that you're going to want to make routine and put fun on the calendar, or self-medication on the calendar, however you want to think about it. This is taking your mental health day and giving yourself a rush so that you can get focused on other things and just feel good and stay sane. So make sure that goes on the calendar first, so that, again, as you do the tedious task of scheduling things, keep your focus on the things that make you excited and give you a rush. Okay, next we'll talk about the environment. The environment that you're in is a collection of stimuli that shape all of your experiences and behaviors. It should be somewhere that you feel safe, it's comfortable, and you have the ability to limit distractions. I recommend having a different environment for different roles. This is why we go into offices to do our work, and we have different kinds of stimuli there and different kinds of visual cues, all of that. And the same should be true if you're cooking or if you're doing some creative writing or painting. Each of those activities should have a different space if possible, or change the space in some way, or even just the tools that are out in order to limit the distraction and really make your roles and your purposes clear to even your subconscious mind. In each of these places, you'll also want to consider, where is accountability? Is there somebody is there some structure where I can feel accountable, or am I solely responsible for accountability? Again, being in an office with other people puts a subtle kind of a pressure on you, hopefully not a bad pressure, but to remind you to continue to engage and re-engage when your thoughts start to wander back onto your common purpose, the project that you're working towards. So consider the accountability in each of your environments and whether that's too much freedom in some cases. That's a big one for a home office. Next, prepare your space by organizing the materials you'll need for the current task and keeping all your other visual clutter out of sight. Distractions are impossible to eliminate entirely, but just take control where you can and declutter spaces, get rid of that visual clutter, and understand that a lot of the distractions that you'll encounter in your office are things that we unconsciously often ignore. So a train or a plane, the sound of cars in the street, a dog barking, a lot of those things are so common in our environment that we unconsciously ignore them, but understand that also saps some of our energy, just even unconsciously ignoring that. So it can be important to really look at your environment with awareness of everything that's really going on and what could be distracting you and sapping that attentional energy. Go through the whole environment with all your senses, maybe besides taste, but definitely sight, sound, smell, and feel. All of those things are easy to have a distraction pop up, especially ones that we're ignoring. And then visualize what your ideal environment for that specific role would be. Think about what's on the walls, how it sounds, what it smells like, the availability of snacks and drinks, and other intentional distractions like a stress ball or some space to walk and move around, some plants or an aquarium, those sorts of things. And finally, make sure that this space has organizational systems so that you can quickly and easily reduce your visual clutter. So things like filing cabinets, cupboards, places that you can easily put materials out of the way if they're not part of that current role and task that you're working on. Okay, so sleep. Good sleep hygiene is enormously important because it increases our attention, reduces our irritability, improves memory, reduces stress, contributes to quicker thinking, and facilitates the acquisition of new information. Most people need about 8 hours of sleep. There's really not a lot of back and forth about this, except for among individuals who said, I only need 4 hours, or I can only get 4 hours. But all the science says around 8 hours is ideal for the human mind to function. So try that. Consistency in your sleep cycles is also very important. Make sure that you're getting up at the same time and going to bed at the same time. Even things like naps, any way that you can add consistency to your sleep cycles is really going to help the way that your body naturally uses energy and gets into rhythms throughout the day. Sometimes people with ADHD fall victim to what I call the night owl fallacy, which is thinking I'm just nocturnal. And that is definitely the case. I mean, some people are morning people and some people are night people. But take into consideration very seriously the fact that you might be getting large amounts of energy at night because you feel like the external obligations of the day are gone, and now you're able to focus on the things that you're actually excited about. Okay, we often spend our day paralyzed thinking about what we should be doing, and then once the sun sets we think, okay, good, now I have all this energy, and that's really more about switching your focus and giving yourself permission to do what you wanted to do all along. So don't let that kind of mindset and that obstacle convince you that you should just be staying up all night and that's just how your body works, when actually it could be a problem with how you use your desire and your time throughout the day. Okay, so to get to sleep, it's really important to make your bedroom a sleep place exclusively, a palace of slumber. And so with that, I would say get your TV out of your bedroom. Don't make your bedroom a cinema. Put things that don't have a lot of lights. Put boring books in your bedroom. You can take a warm bath. I think a nice wind down ritual through the end of the day is great for some people. Definitely some kind of routine should accompany you getting to sleep. So mentally you're preparing yourself for just laying down and closing your eyes. I like to have rain sounds on. Some people really like restrictive bedding or a weighted blanket to kind of make them feel comfortable when they go to sleep. Warm milk works for some people. Light snack. You don't want to go to sleep necessarily super hungry, but you don't want to be eating a full meal before bed either. So, but whatever's going to make you feel comfortable and help you get to sleep. I really think for our generation, it's mostly about getting away from the screens. Not a lot of active play before bed, drugs. You could also be having medication-related issues, medication side effects. In that case, you want to talk to your medical professional, maybe get on something that cuts out a little bit earlier in the day, or change the kind of medication that you're using. So those are some sleep obstacles to sort of consider. As I said, waking up is its own ritual. I loved the change from an alarm that sounded like an alarm clock to an alarm that plays a song that I like and is really chill and kind of builds. It's great. It can be the corniest music in the world, but anything is better than the sound of an alarm clock. Try to keep that alarm out of the bedroom too. If you have trouble with hitting the snooze button or turning your alarm off rather than getting out of bed, make yourself walk for it and put the alarm next to the coffee maker or something like that. That can really help. But for those committed like I was to sleeping through our alarms, even that is easy to go back to sleep through. So again, at the end of the day, it is going to take a little bit of willpower. But if you're having trouble getting to sleep or waking up, get out of bed in both cases. Take a little walk and then come back, because you don't want to be laying in bed awake is when you start to explore your demons and you're not doing anything, you're not feeling productive, so it's easy to get negative. And when you're out on a walk, especially outside in the moonlight at night or in the sunlight in the morning, that's what really blasts the demons off your body. So make sure that you don't just lie in bed awake. And start the day with something that motivates you, something that you're excited about doing every morning. And that's different for everybody, but set yourself up for success by doing something that makes you feel like you're exactly the kind of person that you want to be, the kind of person that you'd admire. Whatever that first thing is really going to set the tone for the whole day. Next, we'll talk about exercise, which is a huge part of your physiological treatment. Your body is a reflection of your unconscious thoughts and habits, so it's important to take care of your body so that you show people that you love yourself and you have self-esteem and confidence. It's proven to also boost a lot of your executive functioning even a few hours after you do the exercise. There are a couple ways you can tackle your exercise routine. Try to get 45 minutes every day. I like to set one 45-minute workout at the end of my workday. That doesn't work for everybody though, and sometimes it's good to just have your exercise equipment out or be ready to do 10 push-ups and 20 crunches several times throughout your day. And that can be a great way to break up and transition from task to task. And honestly, I go back and forth sometimes to do my workout. And doing extra is never going to hurt you as much as doing nothing will. So just keep track of what you're doing. Try some of the exercises listed here. Those you can look all those up online, or I'm happy to go through those with people. And then obviously at the bottom there's basketball, jogging, yoga. You can swim, bike. Those are a little bit more sport-like activities, exercise activities that you can do, which are great. But just exercise enough to meet your goals that you set, and choose activities that fit your schedule, your abilities, and your needs. Start slowly, build up gradually, and stick with it. Next, we'll talk about diet, your body's infrastructure. The roads, highways, waterways, and power lines of your body are all composed of minerals, vitamins, and fatty acids, which can be found in a balanced diet. So this is how you provide the chemicals your body needs to function. It's important to get enough of each of these things, and it's also important to deal with the stress that cooking, eating, and hunger can create. For instance, atypicals often forget to eat and then end up grabbing anything that's around and then quickly stress eating that thing. And that can create sort of an inconsistent relationship with food, which can cause us stress, cause us to not eat as regularly, and even contribute to atypical suffering from a propensity towards eating disorders. So to avoid this, it's important to do things like set consistent meal times. That's really good, especially for breakfast and dinner. It's not always the same for lunch. Depending on your work environment, it certainly could be. So consistent meal times across the board. And you don't need to have 3 meals a day. Whatever works for you to get your needs met. Another great way to prioritize meal times is to eat with others, and that will help it be like a meeting, and you're excited about talking to that person, seeing that person, and also they have an expectation that you'll be there. So just by having that extra level of accountability, now you're prioritizing your mealtime. In your treatment notebook, you can also jot down treatment notes if you're going to try changing your diet a little bit, maybe eat some more fruit this week and see how you feel, and just jot down any observations you have in your treatment notebook. As far as good foods and bad foods, I'm not going to get into it too much, or I guess I can say that, but here's a list of mostly good stuff, but the reality is the jury's kind of out on what's actually good and what's not, and it's probably on a case-by-case basis between different people and what works for them and their biome and all that, their gut biome. So take this with a grain of salt, pun intended, and make sure that you're getting a balance and you're listening to your body and what it feels like it needs. There's a lot of back and forth about what's good for your diet and what's not. So I'm not going to try to be a definitive source on what those things are. These are generally considered safe picks for things that are good for you because they provide a lot of those vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids that we talked about at the top. So try to put as much of this into your diet as you can and really listen to your body. I didn't prepare a slide for bad foods. Essentially, we're talking about a lot of manufactured processed foods that have a super long shelf life, and also high fat diets with a lot of red meat. All of that is linked to greater levels of depression and potentially brain swelling. So avoid high fat diets and a lot of super manufactured processed foods. Next, let's talk about one of my personal favorites, meditation. Meditation is a mindfulness exercise which is going to help you manage your thoughts and emotions. It's also been proven to release calming neurochemicals, and it trains your mind to be more easily able to recenter itself to a place of mental clarity and emotional stability. So you're going to be able to come back to that calm center more easily the more time you spend meditating and practicing the path to that place. There are many different meditation techniques, but breathing is almost always the starting point. So start there and focus on your breathing. Try to do some breathing exercise to just feel natural. You're not trying to alter your breathing. You're just observing your breathing. Don't criticize yourself. Don't try to change it. Just observe the breath going in and out of your body. Feel it on your upper lip as you exhale or inhale through your nose. Just observe your breathing, and that's really going to be the starting point. Good breathing exercises and breathing technique are the number one way to calm yourself down, especially when you're panicking. There's two meditation philosophies here that I like to elaborate a little bit on. One is training an elephant, and that is just to remind you that the process of observing your own thoughts and having a quiet mind is not something that's going to happen overnight, and it is not easy or trivial. Your mind is a powerful elephant that can easily trample all of the gardens in the village of your head. It's going to take years to train this elephant to use its strength to plow the fields rather than trample them. So don't get frustrated with yourself. Understand that you are training that elephant, and it's a slow process, which often can seem trivial, but it certainly isn't. The next one is the train station, and I think this is important to remember when you are trying to understand why meditation is important. I think it helps to think about yourself in a train station and imagining the trains coming and going through the station as your thoughts, and the train station is your head. Every train that comes through is headed to a place, and we often find ourselves getting onto those trains and going wherever they take us. With meditation, you're involved. Your only responsibility is to observe the trains and not get on them. Don't follow those trains to wherever they're headed, because they're probably distracting you and not leading to anywhere that's super productive. It's just a thought. Notice the thoughts just passing and not giving in to them and getting on that train. And when you do find yourself boarding a train, having a thought and sort of like following it away from your focus on your breathing exercise, just get back off the train, sit back down in the station. Don't chastise yourself. You just had a powerful thought and you lost focus and got onto that train, and that thought took you somewhere, and now you're back off and you can resume your breathing exercise. And the amount of time that you're able to sit in the station without getting on a train will build and build and build, and you will increasingly be less influenced by those powerful thoughts and emotions passing through your head. And that's what meditation is all about. Next, let's talk about mantras. Mantras are those powerful, positive statements that remind you of how great you are, and that you are capable of overcoming your challenges, and that you are able to challenge even yourself when you sort of dwell on negative thoughts and emotions. I really like Louise Hay, who has like a lot of affirmations available on YouTube and potentially Spotify and other places you can find those. They're great to listen to give yourself a little emotional boost and put things in perspective. Mantras get you pumped up about your life. They remind you of your strengths, and they pick you up when things go wrong. And again, they are great. It's great to come up with a mantra when you notice a recurring negative thought, and then have a mantra that challenges and diffuses that recurring negative thought just in your back pocket, ready to go, because you know that thought's going to come back, and if you can diffuse it right away, it's going to come back less often. Okay, we're already into the physiological treatment plan. There are 5 main components of your physiological treatment plan, and they are listed to the right side of the slide here. These 5 are measurable goals that should be fairly consistent. So your medication is going to be the same consistently, your sleep, your exercise, your diet, and your meditation. All of these should be routine. You're also going to want to consider self-medication, mantras, and stress reduction in everything you do. So for self-medication, think about if you're getting enough fun and relaxation to manage your stress, and are you getting too much of a good thing and not focusing on other aspects of your life? Have you become addicted to that form of medication? Then with mantras, ask yourself if you have some personal mantras that remind you of your strength and pump you up when things don't go smoothly. Just make sure you have a few mantras in place for you. And finally, here are some questions to get you thinking about personalizing all of these tactics so that they work optimally for you. First, does your environment encourage you to follow through with your treatment regularly, especially your physiological treatments? Again, are the weights out? Is there a schedule for your day? Is your bedroom clean of most screens and distractions that could prevent you from going to sleep well? Next, what stimuli encourages you and what prevents you from doing things that you think you should be doing or that you want to do? Then think of something you can commit to as far as a physiological treatment. For example, with your exercise, don't immediately start with 100 push-ups a day. Just start small with something you can commit to, right? Start with 10. Something very small that is not going to be a challenge for you, and then work up so that you don't immediately fail or fail in the first week. And then finally, think about who can help and get their help. Get partners. Get people to help hold you accountable. Get a gym buddy. That's maybe the biggest one. Invite friends to your meals so you prioritize those times. Talk to your coach about medication and how your sleep is going, and all of those things. You can find accountability and help from people who have been there. Okay, so I'm ready for the questions now that we've covered everything from the ADHD body section. Any kind of questions you have, feel free to pop those into the chat, and I will start with the questions that I've received by email, and then we can just talk about whatever's on your mind with the remaining time.